All right, today we're stepping into a very quiet, very small room to witness a conversation. It's really a parable about what it means to have a human spirit. This is the Jester's third dance, and believe me, it is completely different from the others. It's a story about a deep crisis of faith and about a truth that's been hidden for a very, very long time.
So the story really kicks off with this challenge, right? It's from Goethe's Faust. You resemble the spirit you can comprehend, not me. It's basically saying, hey, try to understand something that's way beyond what you think you know. And that, well, that just sets the stage perfectly for the intense conversation we're about to dive into.
So, where are we? We're in probably the most intimate setting you can imagine, the private cell of a high priest. And this place, it isn't just a room. It's really the epicenter of a massive crisis of faith. This is where a man is finally facing a truth he just can't run from anymore.
And the setting itself, wow, it tells you everything you need to know. 6 paces by 4, that's it. It's a space that's been stripped of everything. No comfort, no distractions. It's designed for one thing and one thing only, to stare reality right in the face. And the only light? A single flickering tallow candle.
For 6 years, just let that sink in, 6 long years, this man, this pillar of faith, has been staring at a blank piece of paper, totally paralyzed. And you know, this is so much more than writer's block. It's this deep, soul-crushing conflict. He's supposed to be writing a sermon about the body, but the problem is, he doesn't believe a word of what his church has told him to say about it anymore.
And then, right into this silent struggle, walks the jester. Now, if you know the jester from his other dances, you're expecting him to expose some big hypocrisy, right? But not this time. His role here is, well, it's much quieter. He's not there to point a finger or to judge. He's there to listen. To create a space so quiet that a truth that's been buried for decades can finally be spoken out loud.
So now, the door is open, both literally and figuratively. The high priest can finally confess this doubt that's been gnawing at him. I mean, for 40 years, he's preached one thing about the body and the spirit. But now, he's about to lay bare this huge gap between what he's been teaching and what he's come to know as real.
So here it is, the absolute heart of the conflict. For his entire career, the priest has taught that the body is just a vessel, a temporary, noisy, flawed container for the real thing, the eternal spirit. But what he's come to believe is something totally different. He thinks the body isn't a container at all. It's the actual form the spirit takes. It's how the spirit shows up in the world. And believe me, this isn't some dry theological argument. This gets right to the heart of what it even means to be human.
And where does this new belief come from? It's not from some ancient text. It comes from lived physical experience. He realizes the body knows things that the spirit can only ever think about, It's a knowledge that has a temperature, a weight. It's the feeling of cold stone on your bare feet or the actual heaviness of a dying person's hand in yours. Grief has a real pressure in your chest. It's this immediate sensory truth that doctrine just can't touch. It suggests that some things you can only understand by having a body.
Okay, so the conversation pivots here. The priest has laid his cards on the table, and now he asks the jester, okay, so what do you think the spirit is?
And the jester's definition, it's so simple, but it's also completely radical. He doesn't talk about purity or being above the physical world or anything like that. For him, the spirit is simply the thing that insists on meaning. It's the part of us that just can't stop asking questions. The part that looks at the world and says, wait a minute, why is it like this, and should it be?
And he explains that this questioning goes in 2 directions. First, it turns outward. It interrogates the world. It demands accountability. It just refuses to accept that's just the way it is. But then, and this is absolutely crucial, it has to turn inward. The spirit has to ask itself why it's asking these questions. What do I really need? What is my purpose in all this? Because without that self-reflection, as the jester puts it, you can't hold a steady mirror up to the world.
So, with this new shared understanding, body is form, spirit is questioner. The high priest is brought right to the edge of a cliff. He's finally ready. He's ready to ask the one single, terrifying question that he has pushed down for his entire 40-year career.
And here it is, the question he was too afraid to ask for decades. If God, if the divine, chose to have a body, a form that religion always calls broken and temporary and sinful, why? What was the point of choosing it in the first place?
The jester's answer is just 4 words, but these 4 words change everything. He says, to know what cold feels like. Think about that.
The point wasn't to overcome the body. The point was to experience through it, to know what it's really like to be cold, or hungry, or to feel the weight of things.
This just completely flips the old doctrine on its head. Suddenly, the body isn't a prison for the spirit to escape from, it's the sacred meeting place. It's the only place where the human and the holy can actually encounter each other. And this reframes everything, doesn't it? Joy, suffering, they're not distractions from spiritual life. They are spiritual life. It means every single body is a potential place for revelation.
And in that moment of shared clarity, the high priest looks at the jester and he really sees him for the first time. Not as some grotesque monster, but as something else. He realizes the jester's strange form isn't a curse. It's a purpose. You are an instrument, he says. Not the truth itself, but the thing that makes the truth visible. Kind of like how a thermometer doesn't create cold. It just makes the invisible reality of temperature visible to us. That's the jester. His uncanny form makes all the world's hidden griefs and questions impossible to ignore.
Now, this is a huge gift to the jester. Think about what he's been called his whole life. A monster, a freak, maybe a necessary evil at best. But instrument, that's different. That word doesn't make his burden any lighter, not at all. But it gives that burden a name, a purpose. And knowing what the weight is for, well, that makes it possible to keep carrying it.
And with that, the jester's job here is done. He leaves the cell. And in this silence he leaves behind, a new sound breaks a 6-year spell. The scratch of a quill on parchment. The high priest, finally knowing what he truly believes, has started to write his sermon.
So you see, this third dance wasn't really an ending, was it? It was a deepening. The priest found his truth, and the jester found a new name for himself, instrument. But the journey is far from over. It just leaves us with the same question the jester now has to carry with him. Okay, he knows what his weight is, but the real question is, what is that weight for?